You know, I believe in second chances. I really do. I've had a few in my day. People can change. Maybe it doesn't happen often, but they can. So just because Stephen Guilbeault, the convicted criminal seen here, is a convicted criminal, doesn't mean that he can't reform himself, become a positive contributor to society. Except that if you're a convicted criminal like he is, you have to come to terms with that, to understand why what you did was wrong, and genuinely believe that, and genuinely change. There has to be contrition, maybe some restitution, I don't know. Of course, Stephen Guilbeault was not contrite. After his arrest and conviction, he was jubilant. It was a media stunt for Greenpeace. It made a ton of money for Greenpeace, his law-breaking. And he tricked the judge. Here's how the Globe and Mail reported his arrest at the time. I'll read. Greenpeace takes Kyoto protest to new heights. I don't think this cheapens it at all, Mr. Guilbeault said before he was rescued. Our goal was to come here, climb, and get our message out. And that's what we did. It was a difficult climb, Mr. Guilbeault said. I've done climbing actions for Greenpeace in the past, but nothing this high. So he was excited about what he had done. He was thrilled about his planned crime when he was caught. He loved it. And here's the Globe and Mail continuing the report after he was convicted and sentenced. CN Tower climbers ordered to pay costs. Two Greenpeace activists who scaled the CN Tower last summer and unfurled a massive banner in a stunt that drew international media coverage pleaded guilty yesterday to public mischief. Briton Christopher Holden, 24, and Montrealer Stephen Guilbeault, 32, received conditional discharges and agreed to pay $3,000 to the tower's corporate owner as compensation for the security and staff costs it incurred. Although a prosecutor told an Ontario court judge the two men were remorseful, both expressed jubilation outside court about having drawn public attention to global climate change and the need to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Oh, so they lied about remorse, and the prosecutor went along with it? They literally said what they needed to say to stay out of jail. Tell the judge whatever he needs to hear. And once they had fooled the judge, once they tricked him, they reverted to their real selves. Is that perjury? I wonder. Mr. Guilbeault told reporters that the climb helped raise public awareness about climate change, and he believes it influenced Prime Minister Jean Chrétien's decision to commit Canada to ratifying the Kyoto Accord on global warming. Mr. Guilbeault was placed on 1 year's probation and ordered to perform 100 hours of community service in Montreal, where he works for Greenpeace, and pay $1,000 of the $3,000 restitution. That's a pretty good deal. Break the law, no fine, no jail, just pay a few bucks to CN for their costs, 100 hours community service. I bet he just called his Greenpeace lobbying community service. I bet he called his crime community service. I bet that's what he did. An unrepentant, unreformed criminal who lied to the courts to get an easy sentence, who broke the law with impunity. Sounds like a Trudeau man. Well, of course, he's the environment minister now. And a communist is a communist. He has not reformed himself. He's done the opposite. He's learned how to game the system. Guilbeault actually went on to start his own lobby group called Équiterre, sort of a Quebec version of Greenpeace, but more radical. That's what he was doing for a living before he ran for politics for Trudeau. And being an unethical criminal, it won't surprise you that as environment minister, he steers funding to his old lobby group. Look at this. This is Équiterre's website. Équiterre launches an awareness campaign of the impacts of large vehicles. It's a campaign against SUVs. Here's their slogan. It loses something a bit in English. The translations are clunky. But their new campaign is, no SUV for me. The main complaint, of course, is that SUVs consume more gas and therefore have more emissions than smaller cars. Well, of course, and a car uses more gas than a motorbike, too. But the war against SUVs is actually just a war against a family. If you're a single person, a political activist who lives in the downtown of a big city that has public transit, you hate SUVs for political and aesthetic reasons. But if you are a family who lives in the suburbs where there's no subway, and you have children, maybe take the kids to hockey practice or Girl Guides, or maybe go shopping at Costco and have a lot of stuff to take home, and using a bus or a subway isn't even an option, SUVs are a godsend. They're really just this generation's version of a minivan, a station wagon. But I want to point out to you this at the bottom. Scroll down to the bottom of this campaign page. Look at this. The No SU for Me campaign is coordinated by Equiterre with financial support from the Government of Canada? What? So the Government of Canada, the Environment Department, presumably, Guilbeault's budget, presumably, they're funding this anti-SUV propaganda? And other weird supporters, let me read. Collaborating partners include Access Transport Veillable, the Automobile Protective Association, CAA Quebec, the Canada Research Chair in the Mobility of People, the David Suzuki Foundation, the Fondation Québécoise d'Éducation en Sécurité Routière, HEC Montreal, Option Consummateurs à Piéton Québec. Sorry, my accent's terrible. But the CAA, that's the Canadian Automobile Association. They're against SUVs now? Is that what they're doing with their members' membership fees? Attacking their members? HEC Montreal, I Googled it, it's a business school. So more government money, really? Canada Research Chair, more government money, really? So this is a government attack on SUVs, which really means on SUV drivers, families. Well, I have an idea. How about Guilbeault and the rest of the cabinet lead by example? Here is a list of ministerial vehicles disclosed by the Trudeau government a few months ago. They dropped more than $1 million on cars for cabinet ministers, and of course they each have their limo driver too. Lots of Toyota Highlanders, Ford Explorers. Most of the vehicles on this list are SUVs, and not the little ones either. The people who are chauffeured around in SUVs are telling you not to drive SUVs. They're probably the same ones feasting on steaks while telling you to eat bugs, living in big mansions while telling you to live in a pod. That was an excerpt from my daily TV-style show called The Ezra Levant Show. Each weekday, I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview a fascinating guest. I read some fan mail or hate mail, depends on which I like more, and we end with a video of the day. You can get it all at rebelnewsplus.com.